You know what betrayal feels like? The kind that doesn't just hurt, it shatters everything you thought was solid in your life. I do. My name is Drew Whitlock, and I'm 35 years old. I came home early from a Navy SEAL deployment and found Morgan, my wife of 8 years, in bed with another man named Gabriel Rodriguez. The shock hit like a physical blow, but the rage that followed was ice cold and precise. Then Gabriel made his fatal mistake. He pulled a gun on me in my own bedroom. What happened next wasn't just about catching two cheaters in the act. It was about taking back every single thing they tried to steal from me. I didn't walk away. I systematically dismantled Morgan's life and ensured Gabriel faced real consequences for threatening a Navy SEAL. Some people deserve to lose everything, and I made damn sure they did. Before I go any further, let me know in the comments where in the world you are watching from, and make sure to subscribe because tomorrow I will share a story you don't want to miss. But let me start from the beginning. I turned my key in the lock at 2:47 a.m. on a Tuesday in March, 3 weeks earlier than anyone expected. The deployment had been cut short due to mission completion, and command gave us 72 hours to get stateside before official leave started. I'd been running on adrenaline and coffee for 18 hours straight, 2 flights and a 6-hour drive from Virginia Beach. But the exhaustion melted away as I pictured Morgan's face when she saw me. We'd been married for 8 years. High school sweethearts who'd made it work through my enlistment, through BUDS training, through deployments that stretched months at a time. She was my anchor, my reason for coming home. Or so I thought. The house was dark, except for a light upstairs, our bedroom. I smiled, thinking she'd fallen asleep reading again. I dropped my duffel in the hallway, kicked off my boots, and climbed the stairs 2 at a time. The bedroom door was cracked open. I heard it before I saw it. Morgan's voice, breathy and urgent, saying a name that wasn't mine. Gabriel. Yes, right there. My hand hit the door. It swung wide. Morgan was in our bed, naked, straddling a man I'd never seen before. They both froze. Her eyes went wide, her mouth forming a perfect O of shock. The man, Gabriel apparently, scrambled backward against the headboard, sheets tangling around his legs. Drew, Morgan gasped, clutching a pillow to her chest. Oh my God, you're not supposed to... Not supposed to what? My voice came out calm and cold. Not supposed to come home to my own house? Not supposed to walk into my own bedroom? I stepped inside, and something shifted in my posture. 8 years as a SEAL, the last 4 with Team 6. I'd been trained to control every room I entered. Get out of my bed, both of you. Now. Gabriel was fumbling for his clothes on the floor, his hands shaking. Man, look, I didn't know. You didn't know she was married? I took another step forward. The wedding photos all over the house didn't tip you off? Or did you just not care? Morgan was crying now, mascara running down her face. Drew, please, let me explain. Explain? I laughed, and it was a sound without humor. Explain what? That you've been screwing another man in our bed? That you've been lying to me for... How long, Morgan? How long has this been going on? 6 months, she whispered. 6 months. Half a year of lies. Half a year of video calls where she'd smiled and said she missed me while she was waiting for this piece of garbage to show up. You ever have someone tell you they love you while they're already planning their next betrayal? That's what 6 months meant. Gabriel had his pants on now, was reaching for his shirt. I'm just gonna go. No, I said flatly. You're not going anywhere until we have a conversation about what happens next. That's when I saw his hand move toward the nightstand, toward the drawer. Don't, I warned. But he did. His hand came back up holding a Glock 19. His grip was terrible, his hand shaking, finger way too close to the trigger. An amateur. A dangerous amateur. Stay back, Gabriel shouted, his voice cracking. I'll shoot. I swear to God I'll shoot, Morgan screamed. Gabriel, no. Put it down. I didn't move, didn't flinch. I'd had insurgents point AKs at my face from 3 feet away. This terrified idiot with his trembling hands wasn't even in the same category. You're going to shoot me? I said quietly. In my own house? With my wife as a witness? I tilted my head. Do you even know how to use that weapon? Your finger's on the trigger, your stance is garbage, and you're telegraphing every move you're about to make. I could disarm you in 2 seconds and break both your arms before you even thought about pulling that trigger. Shut up. Gabriel's face was red, sweat beading on his forehead. Just let me leave. I moved. It took exactly 1.3 seconds. I closed the distance, trapped his wrist, twisted the gun away from any useful angle, and applied pressure to the nerve cluster below his thumb. The Glock clattered to the floor. Another half-second and Gabriel was face down on the carpet, his arm locked behind him in a submission hold that had him gasping in pain. Here's the thing about pointing guns at people, I said conversationally, kneeling on his back. You should really know what you're doing. You could have shot your girlfriend, you could have shot yourself, you definitely couldn't have shot me. Morgan was screaming, "Let him go! Drew, you're hurting him." "Yeah, I am." I applied a little more pressure and Gabriel whimpered. "And I'm going to keep hurting him until we establish some ground rules. Rule 1, you don't ever come near my wife again. Rule 2, you don't call her, text her, email her, or communicate with her in any way. Rule 3, if I ever see you again, what I'm doing right now will feel like a massage compared to what comes next. Are we clear?" "Yes, yes. Jesus, please." I released him and stood up. Gabriel scrambled away, cradling his arm, his face blotchy and wet with tears and snot. He grabbed the rest of his clothes and stumbled toward the door. "Gabriel, wait!" Morgan started to climb out of bed, realized she was naked, and froze. "He's not waiting," I said. "He's leaving. Forever." Gabriel didn't need to be told twice. I heard him thundering down the stairs, heard the front door slam hard enough to rattle the windows. Then it was just Morgan and me. She wrapped the sheet around herself, her face a mess of smeared makeup and tears. "Drew, I'm so sorry. I never meant for—" "Stop." I held up a hand. "I don't want to hear it tonight. Get dressed. Sleep in the guest room. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about lawyers." "Lawyers?" Her voice went shrill. "Drew, no, we can work through this. We can go to counseling." "You had 6 months to think about counseling," I said. 6 months to decide our marriage was worth saving. You made your choice. Now I'm making mine. I walked out of the bedroom, grabbed my duffel from the hallway, and locked myself in my home office. I sat on the couch in the dark, my hands surprisingly steady, and let the reality of it all sink in. My marriage was over, and I was going to make damn sure Morgan regretted every single choice that led to this moment. I didn't sleep. I spent the hours until dawn running through scenarios, making lists, planning my next moves. By the time gray light filtered through the office blinds, I'd already sent 3 emails. One to Commander Vince Parker, requesting an extension of my leave for personal emergency, one to Nicholas Jensen from Team 3, and one to my bank to freeze our joint accounts pending separation. At 7 a.m. I heard Morgan moving around the house, water running, coffee brewing, the mundane sounds of a morning routine that now felt obscene. I walked into the kitchen. She was sitting at the table in her robe, eyes red and swollen, hands wrapped around a mug. She looked up when I entered, something like hope flickering across her face. "Drew, we're going to do this efficiently," I interrupted. "I've already contacted a lawyer, Nicholas Jensen. He'll be here at 10. We're going to divide assets, establish terms for the divorce, and you're going to sign whatever he puts in front of you." "Just like that?" Morgan's voice broke. 8 years and you're just done? "You were done 6 months ago," I said flatly. "You just didn't have the guts to tell me, so yeah, just like that. What about counseling? What about trying to—" "Morgan." I leaned against the counter, arms folded. "You brought another man into our bed, into our home. You lied to me for half a year. And when I caught you, your boyfriend pulled a gun on me. What exactly do you think counseling is going to fix?" She flinched. "He's not my boyfriend." "Oh, sorry. What do you call someone you've been screwing for 6 months?" "It wasn't like that." She stood up, the chair scraping harshly against tile. "You're never here, Drew. I'm alone all the time." "You needed to be an adult and talk to me," I said. "You needed to tell me you were unhappy. Instead, you snuck around, betrayed every vow you made, and now you're trying to blame me for your choices. That's not how this works." She was crying again. "I love you. I made a mistake, but I love you." "No," I said quietly. "You love the idea of being married to a SEAL. You love the benefits and the status. But you don't love me. If you did, you couldn't have done what you did. I remembered Saturday mornings when we used to make pancakes together in this kitchen, her laughing at my terrible attempts to flip them. That felt like someone else's life now. The doorbell rang. "That'll be Nicholas," I said. "Get dressed, we have work to do." Morgan's face went pale. Her hand started trembling around the mug. You already called him? Last night?" 4 a.m., I confirmed. He responded in 20 minutes, "Get dressed, Morgan, now." She set the mug down with shaking hands and stared at me like she was seeing a stranger. Maybe she was. Maybe the man she'd married, the one who'd trusted her completely, who'd believed every word she said during those deployment video calls. Maybe that version of me died last night in our bedroom. This version didn't give second chances to people who pulled guns and betrayed vows. "Drew, please." "You've got 5 minutes," I said. "Nicholas doesn't like waiting. And honestly, neither do I." She stood there for another moment, tears streaming down her face before turning and walking toward the stairs. I heard her footsteps on the hardwood, heard the bedroom door close. I poured myself coffee and checked my phone. Nicholas had responded to my 4 a.m. email with a simple message. "I'll be there. Bring everything. Bank statements, property docs, marriage certificate. This ends fast." Fast worked for me. The doorbell rang again at exactly 10 a.m. I opened it to find Nicholas standing there with a leather briefcase and the expression of a man who'd done this dance 100 times before. "Drew," he said, shaking my hand. "Thanks for coming. Where's the wife?" "Getting dressed. Should be down in a minute." Nicholas nodded and walked into the dining room, already pulling documents from his briefcase. Within minutes, Morgan appeared at the top of the stairs, dressed but looking like she'd aged 5 years overnight. She descended slowly, her hand gripping the railing. When she saw Nicholas spreading papers across the dining table, her face went even paler. "Mrs. Whitlock," Nicholas said without looking up. "Have a seat. We have work to do." Nicholas sat at the dining room table, his laptop open, 3 copies of preliminary documents stacked neatly beside it. He gestured to the chairs across from him. "Please sit." Morgan lowered herself into the chair like she was walking to an execution. I took the seat beside her, keeping a full foot of distance between us. "Mrs. Whitlock," Nicholas began, his tone professionally courteous. "I'm here to facilitate a fair and equitable division of assets. My client has indicated he wants this resolved quickly and without unnecessary conflict." Morgan's jaw was tight. "I haven't even had a chance to get my own lawyer." "You're welcome to retain counsel," Nicholas said smoothly. "But given the circumstances of the marital breakdown, specifically, adultery documented by Mr. Whitlock's eyewitness testimony, I'd advise cooperation. Virginia is a fault-based divorce state. Adultery significantly impacts asset division and any potential spousal support." Her face went pale. "Spousal support? You won't be getting any," I said. "In fact, we're going to establish very clearly that you walked away from this marriage with exactly what you brought into it. Maybe less, depending on how cooperative you are." "You can't do that." "Actually," Nicholas said, pulling up a document on his laptop, "we can. The house is in Mr. Whitlock's name, purchased before marriage. The vehicles are titled to him. Your joint accounts will be split 50-50, but given that Mr. Whitlock has been the primary earner throughout the marriage—" "I worked," Morgan protested. "I worked part-time." "At a boutique," I said. "Making $12 an hour, 3 days a week. Morgan, I've been financially supporting us for 8 years, you know that." Nicholas continued. "We're proposing a clean break. No spousal support, no claims on military benefits post-divorce, and no contest of asset division. In exchange, Mr. Whitlock agrees not to pursue alienation of affection charges against Gabriel Rodriguez." Morgan's face crumpled. "You'd sue Gabriel?" "In a heartbeat," I said. "But I'd rather be done with both of you. So here's the deal. You sign, you walk away, and you get to move on with your life. You fight me, and I make this as painful and expensive as possible. Your choice." She stared at the papers in front of her, her hands trembling. "I need time to think." "You have until noon," I said. "After that, the offer changes." And trust me, you won't like the new terms. Morgan looked at Nicholas, then back at me. This is insane. You're being cruel. No, I said quietly. Cruel would have been what I did to Gabriel if he hadn't run fast enough. This is mercy. Take it or leave it. The clock on the wall ticked. Nicholas sat perfectly still, waiting. I kept my expression neutral, watching Morgan's face cycle through emotions. Anger, fear, desperation, grief. At 11:32 a.m., she reached for the pen. Where do I sign? Her voice was barely a whisper. Nicholas flipped to the first page. Here, and here, initial each page at the bottom. Her hand shook so badly the first signature was almost illegible. She cried through every page, mascara running down her cheeks in dark streaks, but she signed. Kept signing, page after page after page. I felt nothing watching her. No satisfaction, no regret. Just cold certainty that this was the right move. At 11:45 a.m., Morgan set the pen down. The documents were complete. Nicholas witnessed each signature with efficient precision, then packed everything into his briefcase. I'll file first thing Monday morning. In Virginia, you're looking at about 60 days for an uncontested divorce based on adultery. Should be clean. Thanks, Nicholas, I said, shaking his hand. He nodded and let himself out. The silence in the dining room was absolute. Morgan sat there looking hollowed out, staring at the table. What now? Now you pack, I said. You've got 48 hours to get your stuff out of the house. Where am I supposed to go? That's not my problem. Call Gabriel. Call your mother. Call a hotel. I don't care. She looked up at me, and something shifted in her expression. Anger replacing grief. You're really going to throw me out? After everything we've been through? You threw yourself out when you climbed into bed with another man, I said. 48 hours, Morgan. Not a minute more. I stood and walked out of the dining room, leaving her sitting there alone with the wreckage of what she'd destroyed. Friday afternoon, my phone buzzed with a text from Steve Hansen. Got something for you, it read, followed by a photo. Morgan's car sat in Gabriel Rodriguez's driveway. Through the front window of his apartment, I could see suitcases stacked against the wall. Her suitcases. The floral pattern on one of them. I'd bought that set for our honeymoon to the Outer Banks, back when I thought we'd grow old together. That didn't take long. Steve's next message read, Want me to keep tabs? I typed back. Yeah, let me know what you see. So Morgan had moved in with Gabriel. 48 hours and she'd already shacked up with the guy who'd pulled a gun on her husband. Part of me wondered if she'd planned it all along, if the affair had always been leading to this. Didn't matter now. I had work to do. Saturday morning, I made my first call. Drew? Diane Whitlock's voice was cautious when she answered. Morgan's mother had always been good to me, tough, no-nonsense woman who'd raised 2 daughters as a single parent. We'd gotten along during family dinners, holidays, all the normal stuff. Is everything okay? Not really, Diane. I wanted you to hear this from me before Morgan gives you her version. I took a breath. I came home early from deployment Tuesday night, found Morgan in bed with another man. Silence on the other end. Long, heavy silence. She cheated on you? Diane finally said. For 6 months. I caught them in our bed. I paused. And when I confronted them, the guy pulled a gun on me. Jesus Christ. Another pause. A gun? In your house? In my bedroom. I disarmed him, sent him running. But yeah, that's what happened. I'm sorry, Drew. I really am. Diane's voice had gone tight. This isn't how I raised her, you know that, right? I do know that. You taught her better. She chose to ignore it. I'll talk to her, Diane said quietly. This is unacceptable. I appreciate that, I just wanted you to know the truth. Second call went to Claire Wright, Morgan's younger sister. Claire had always been the responsible one. Went to college, married a good guy named Thomas, built a stable life in Richmond. She answered on the second ring. Drew, what's going on? Morgan called yesterday and... What did she tell you? Claire hesitated. She said you two were having problems and you were being cruel about the divorce, that you wouldn't even talk to her about counseling. Did she mention the part where I caught her with another man? I asked. Or the part where her boyfriend pulled a gun on me in my own house? What? Claire's voice went up an octave. She did what? I gave her the full story. Short version, but complete. Morgan's 6-month affair, coming home early, Gabriel's gun, the whole disaster. Oh my God, Drew, I don't even know what to say. Claire sounded genuinely shocked. Are you okay? I'm handling it. But I wanted you to know the truth before Morgan tries to spin this into something it's not. She already tried, Claire said, anger creeping into her tone. She made it sound like you were the bad guy. She didn't say anything about cheating. Nothing about a gun. Just that you were being heartless. That's her pattern. Rewrite history, play the victim. Yeah, well, she's not getting away with that. Not with me. By Sunday evening, the fallout was complete. Diane had stopped speaking to Morgan entirely. According to Claire, their mother had called Morgan Saturday night, and the conversation had ended with Diane hanging up mid-sentence when Morgan tried to blame me for being emotionally absent. Claire had sent Morgan a blistering text that morning. I didn't see it, but Claire told me it included phrases like, "How dare you lie to me," and "You don't get to play victim when you destroyed your own marriage." Morgan's entire support system had collapsed in 72 hours. Then Gabriel made his mistake. Sunday night, Steve sent me another screenshot. Gabriel's Facebook post, public for anyone to see. Tired of all this drama. Crazy family causing problems that got nothing to do with them. Mind your own business and let people live their lives. I stared at the post. Read it twice. You idiot, I thought. You absolute idiot. Gabriel was posting about this publicly, complaining about drama when he'd been sleeping with a married woman and pulled an illegal firearm on her husband, creating a digital record of his own stupidity. This was gold. Pure, tactical gold. If this went to court, when it went to court, Nicholas could use Gabriel's social media to paint him exactly as he was, reckless, immature, and utterly lacking in judgment. I screenshot the post and saved it to a folder on my phone labeled Evidence. Gabriel Rodriguez was building my case for me, one stupid Facebook post at a time. Monday morning, my phone rang at 08:30. Nicholas Jensen's name on the screen. "We've got a problem," he said the moment I answered. I felt my jaw tighten. What kind of problem? Morgan's trying to withdraw her consent on the divorce agreement. She lawyered up over the weekend. Got some strip mall attorney named Bill Anderson who's threatening to contest everything. Strip mall attorney, the kind who takes cases for quick fees and files motions that sound impressive but fall apart under scrutiny. On what grounds? I asked. They're claiming duress, saying you forced her to sign under emotional distress, that she wasn't in the right mental state to agree to the terms. That's garbage. I know it's garbage, Nicholas said. She had 15 hours to think about it. She could have called any lawyer in Virginia Beach. She made a choice. But it's going to delay everything and cost both of you a fortune in legal fees. He paused. There's more. Anderson's also claiming Gabriel Rodriguez is prepared to testify that you assaulted him. I laughed. Actually laughed. He pulled a gun on me in my own house. I disarmed him. That's self-defense. That's exactly what I said. But Gabriel's going to argue you used excessive force, that you threatened him, that you committed assault and battery. It's a weak case, but Drew, it's enough to complicate things. I closed my eyes and took a breath. This was supposed to be clean, fast, over. I'd given Morgan the easiest exit possible, sign the papers, walk away, move on with her life. No dragging her through depositions, no public humiliation, just a quiet divorce that let both of us disappear from each other's lives. And she'd repaid that mercy by hiring some bottom-feeder attorney to drag this out. Now Morgan and her coward boyfriend were trying to turn this into a war. What do? I asked. We fight, Nicholas said simply. And we win. But Drew, this is going to get ugly. Are you prepared for that? I thought about Morgan's face when I'd caught her. The shock that had turned to panic, then to desperate excuses. 6 months of lies condensed into one terrible moment. I thought about Gabriel's trembling hand on that gun. The way his finger had been too close to the trigger. The way he'd screamed threats while his voice cracked with fear. I thought about every video call I'd made from halfway around the world, telling Morgan I missed her, asking how her day had been, believing we were solid. All of it had been a lie. Yeah, I said quietly. I'm prepared. Good. Because they're not backing down, which means we don't either. I'm going to bury Anderson in discovery requests. We're going to document every lie Morgan's told, every inconsistency in Gabriel's story. By the time we're done, the judge will see exactly what kind of people they are. What do you need from me? Everything. Phone records, bank statements, emails, text messages, anything that shows the timeline of their affair. Anything that proves you were the faithful spouse trying to make the marriage work. I've got all of that. Then we start building. This week I'll file our response to Anderson's motion. We'll make it clear that Morgan signed that agreement with full knowledge and consent, that she had every opportunity to seek counsel, and that her attempt to withdraw consent is nothing but buyer's remorse. I could hear Nicholas typing in the background, already working. As for Gabriel's assault claim, Nicholas continued, we've got the police report you filed that night. We've got your statement. And if Gabriel wants to testify under oath that he pulled an illegal weapon on a Navy SEAL in that SEAL's own home, well, I'm happy to let him do that in front of a judge. He violated his probation by having that gun, I said. Exactly. Which means if he pushes this assault narrative, we push his probation violation. He's looking at jail time, Drew. Real jail time. He won't want that fight. And if he does, then we win that one too. Nicholas's voice had gone cold and certain. Look, I've handled cases like this before. Cheating spouse gets caught, panics, tries to rewrite history. They hire bad lawyers who make big promises and file weak motions. It delays things, but it doesn't change the outcome. We just have to be smarter, faster, and more ruthless than they are. I can do ruthless. I know you can. That's why we're going to win. I stared out the window of my home office. The morning sun was breaking through clouds, casting long shadows across the yard. How ugly is this going to get? I asked. Very, Nicholas said bluntly. They're going to try to make you look like the bad guy. They're going to twist facts, paint you as controlling or violent or whatever narrative they think will work. Are you ready for that? I'm ready. Then let's get to work. I need you to send me everything you've got. Every text, every email, every bank record. I want a complete timeline of your marriage and Morgan's affair. Can you do that today? Yeah, I'll have it to you by tonight. Perfect. We'll talk tomorrow after I file our response. Nicholas hung up. I sat there for a long moment, phone still in my hand. The gloves were coming off entirely now. Morgan wanted a war? Fine. She'd get one, and when it was over, she'd have nothing left. 3 weeks into depositions, document requests, and legal warfare, Nicholas called me into his office. We need to talk, he said. I found something. I sat down across from his desk. Nicholas had that look, the one he got when he'd discovered a piece of evidence that changed everything. What have you got? How much do you know about Gabriel Rodriguez? Nicholas asked, turning his laptop toward me. I shrugged. Not much, just that he's a coward and a homewrecker. He's also got a record. Nicholas pulled up a background check on his screen. 2 DUIs, 1 domestic disturbance call from an ex-girlfriend 3 years ago, and he's currently on probation for illegal possession of a firearm. I leaned forward, reading the details. Currently on probation? Yeah. 18-month probation that started last July. He's got 10 months left on it. Nicholas scrolled down. And here's the beautiful part. The terms of his probation explicitly forbid him from possessing any firearms. It took me exactly 2 seconds to understand what that meant. The gun he pulled on me, I said slowly, wasn't legal for him to have. Wasn't registered. Wasn't legal for him to possess given his probation status. Nicholas smiled, and it wasn't a friendly expression. Gabriel Rodriguez violated the terms of his probation by having that weapon in his possession, and he didn't just have it. He threatened you with it. I sat back in my chair, letting that sink in. Gabriel had screwed himself. Completely. If we push this, Nicholas continued, he's looking at jail time. Probation violations are serious. The judge could revoke his probation entirely and sentence him to whatever suspended sentence was hanging over his head from the original charge. How much time are we talking about? 6 months minimum. Could be longer depending on the judge and Gabriel's attitude in court. Nicholas closed the laptop. This is leverage, Drew. Perfect leverage. Gabriel faces real consequences, and Morgan sees exactly what kind of man she threw away her marriage for. You ever have one of those moments where everything just clicks into place? Where you realize the universe has handed you exactly what you need? This was that moment. Push it, I said. You're sure? Once we do this, there's no walking it back. Gabriel goes to jail and Morgan's going to blame you for it. Morgan can blame whoever she wants. Gabriel pulled an illegal gun on me in my own house. That was his choice, not mine. I'm just reporting a crime. Nicholas nodded. I'll file the paperwork this afternoon. The probation office will have to investigate, but with your police report and testimony, this is open and shut. Do it. Within days, things moved fast. Nicholas filed the probation violation report with supporting documentation. My police report from that night, my sworn statement, photos of the gun that the responding officers had confiscated and logged into evidence. The probation officer assigned to Gabriel's case didn't waste time. 2 days later, Steve sent me a video. It was shot from across the street, probably from Steve's phone. Gabriel's apartment building was visible, and there were 2 police cars parked out front, lights flashing. As I watched, 2 officers led Gabriel out in handcuffs. He was wearing sweatpants and a t-shirt, his face red and blotchy. Morgan was on the front steps in pajamas sobbing, screaming at the officers that it was all a misunderstanding, that Gabriel didn't do anything wrong. One of the officers, a tall guy with graying hair, said something to Morgan that I couldn't hear. She screamed louder. They put Gabriel in the back of the patrol car and drove away. Morgan collapsed on the steps, her whole body shaking. I watched the video 3 times. Then I texted Steve back. Thanks for this. Anytime, brother. You doing okay? Yeah, I'm good. And I was. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I was actually winning. Gabriel's probation violation hearing was set for 2 weeks out. In the meantime, he made bail, $10,000 that Morgan apparently scraped together somehow. But the conditions were strict. No weapons, no contact with me, and a curfew from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. 3 days after the arrest, my phone rang. Morgan's name lit up the screen. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. What? You did this. Her voice was shaking with rage. You got Gabriel arrested. Gabriel got Gabriel arrested, I said calmly. He pulled an illegal firearm on me. That was his choice, not mine. You're destroying his life. He tried to destroy mine. Difference is I'm actually succeeding. You're a monster, Drew. You know that? A heartless monster. I laughed. Couldn't help it. I'm the monster? Morgan, you cheated on me for 6 months. You brought another man into our bed. And when I caught you, your boyfriend pulled a gun on me. But yeah, I'm the monster for reporting a crime. He wouldn't have pulled that gun if you hadn't threatened him. I didn't threaten anyone. I walked into my own bedroom and found you screwing someone else. Gabriel panicked because he's a coward. That's on him, not me. She was crying now. He's going to lose everything because of you. Good, I said. He deserves to lose everything. Just like you do. Morgan hung up. I set the phone down and went back to work. Bill Anderson tried to get creative. A week after Gabriel's arrest, Nicholas called me. Anderson filed a motion. Claims you orchestrated Gabriel's arrest as retaliation, that you're using your military connections to harass his clients. Military connections? I almost laughed. I filed a police report. That's it. I know, it's garbage. But we've got a hearing tomorrow before Judge Hanson. I'll handle it. The hearing was short. Bill Anderson stood in his cheap suit, shuffling papers, making his argument to Judge Juliet Hanson, a stern woman in her 50s who looked like she'd heard every excuse in the book. Your Honor, Anderson said, my client and Mr. Rodriguez have been subjected to ongoing harassment by Mr. Whitlock. The arrest was clearly retaliatory, orchestrated by someone with military training and connections who knows how to manipulate the system. Judge Hanson looked unimpressed. Do you have evidence of this orchestration, Mr. Anderson? Well, the timing is suspicious. Evidence, counselor, not speculation. Anderson fumbled. The police report was filed by Mr. Whitlock after the fact, which suggests... Nicholas stood up. Your Honor, may I? Please. Nicholas was calm, precise. Your Honor, Mr. Rodriguez violated the terms of his probation by possessing an illegal firearm and threatening Mr. Whitlock with deadly force. These are documented facts. Mr. Whitlock filed a police report that night, which is what any citizen should do when threatened with a weapon. The police investigated. The probation office investigated. Mr. Rodriguez violated his probation. There's no conspiracy here, just consequences. Judge Hanson nodded. I agree. Motion denied. She looked at Anderson. Mr. Anderson, unless you have something substantive, I suggest you advise your client to settle. This court doesn't appreciate frivolous motions. Anderson's face went red. Yes, Your Honor. We walked out of that courtroom, and Nicholas clapped me on the shoulder. That's 2 losses for them. They're running out of moves. I should have known Morgan wouldn't quit that easily. 3 days later, Commander Vince Parker called me into his office. I'd known Commander Parker for 6 years. He was fair, tough, and protective of his team. When I walked in, he gestured to a chair. Drew, sit down. I sat. Parker leaned back in his chair, studying me. I'm getting complaints about you. My jaw tightened. From my ex-wife, sir. Ex-wife who claims you're dangerous, that you threatened her and her boyfriend, that you're unstable. He paused. You want to tell me what's actually going on? I kept my voice level. Sir, I came home early from deployment and found my wife in bed with another man, Gabriel Rodriguez. When I confronted them, Rodriguez pulled an illegal gun on me in my own home. I disarmed him, filed a police report, and he was arrested for violating his probation. It's all documented. Police report, legal filings, everything. Parker nodded slowly. And the harassment claims? Morgan's lying, sir. She's fighting the divorce and she's trying to make me look bad. I haven't threatened anyone. I reported a crime and I'm protecting my assets in a legal proceeding. You doing okay? Parker's tone shifted. This is a lot of stress. I'm fine, sir, just dealing with a messy divorce. Messy's one word for it. He sighed. Look, I've known you for 6 years. You're one of the best operators I've got, but I need to know you're keeping it together. I am, sir. Good. Because if this gets any messier, it could impact your clearance. Understand? I understood perfectly. Morgan was trying to wreck my career now, too. Yes, sir. Parker dismissed me and I walked out of that office with my hands clenched into fists. Morgan had crossed a line. That afternoon, I called Steve. I need a recommendation, I said. Private investigator, someone who can dig deep. How deep? Everything. Financial records, employment history, past relationships. I want to know every dirty secret Gabriel Rodriguez has. Steve was quiet for a second. You sure you want to go there? Morgan just tried to tank my career, yeah, I'm sure. All right, guy's name is Daniel Nguyen, former Army CID. Does background checks, infidelity cases, the works. He's thorough, and he's discreet. Send me his number. I met Daniel Nguyen the next day at a coffee shop near base. He was in his 40s, sharp eyes, the kind of guy who noticed everything. Steve says you need a deep dive, Daniel said. On Gabriel Rodriguez. I need everything. Financial records, employment history, criminal background, past relationships. Anything that makes him look bad in court. Anything Morgan wouldn't want exposed. Daniel nodded. Looking for anything specific? Anything that proves he's a liar and a screw-up. Anything that shows Morgan made a terrible choice. I can do that. Give me a week. I slid an envelope across the table, half his fee up front. Daniel took it and smiled. I'll be in touch. I walked out of that coffee shop knowing I'd just gone on full offense, and I wasn't stopping until Morgan and Gabriel had nothing left. Daniel called me exactly 1 week later. Got your report, he said. You're going to want to see this in person. We met at the same coffee shop. Daniel slid a manila folder across the table, thick with printed documents and highlighted sections. I opened it and started reading. Gabriel Rodriguez was a complete mess. Credit card debt, over $60,000 spread across 7 cards. Fired from his last 2 jobs for attendance issues and unprofessional conduct. Currently working as a contractor for a home security company, which was almost funny given his criminal record. But the real gold was buried on page 4. Gabriel was still married. I looked up at Daniel. Wait, what? Legally married, Daniel confirmed. Separated from his wife, Leslie Rodriguez, about 18 months ago, but never filed for divorce. She lives in Asheville, North Carolina with their 2 kids, ages 6 and 9. I talked to her on the phone, said I was doing a background check for potential employment. She had no idea Gabriel was seeing anyone seriously. I sat back in my chair, letting that sink in. Morgan had destroyed our marriage for a man who was still married to someone else. A man who'd lied to her the same way she'd lied to me. "This is perfect," I said. "Thought you'd like it." I documented everything. Marriage certificate, Leslie's address, the kids' school records. All verified. I closed the folder. "Send this to Nicholas Jensen immediately." Nicholas called me 30 minutes later, and I could hear the smile in his voice. "Drew, this is gold. Pure legal gold. I thought you'd appreciate it. We bring this up in the divorce proceedings, and it paints Morgan's judgment in the worst possible light. She wasn't just committing adultery, she was dating a married man who lied to her about his entire situation. A broke, criminal married man. Will it matter in court? It'll matter to the judge. Shows a pattern of dishonesty and poor decision-making. And it might make Morgan realize Gabriel isn't worth fighting for. Good, use it." I sent the full PI report to Morgan that afternoon. Subject line: "Thought you should know." Within an hour, my phone rang. Morgan's name on the screen. I answered. "Yeah." "He told me he was divorced." Her voice was hysterical, shaking. "He told me his wife left him years ago." "He lied." "Yeah, he did," I said calmly. "Just like you lied to me." "Funny how that works, isn't it? How could you do this? How could I do what, Morgan? Tell you the truth about the man you destroyed our marriage for?" I laughed, cold and sharp. "You picked a real winner. He's broke, he's a criminal, and he's still married with 2 kids. Congratulations." "I hate you," she spat. "I hate you so much." "Good," I said. "That'll make the final divorce hearing much easier." I hung up. Gabriel's probation violation hearing happened 2 weeks later. Nicholas sent me the results via text. 6 months. He's going in immediately. Gabriel was serving jail time. Morgan was alone. And I was winning. The divorce hearing was scheduled for late May. I walked into that courtroom with Nicholas, calm and ready. Morgan showed up alone. She looked exhausted, worn down, like the last few months had aged her 5 years. Bill Anderson sat beside her, shuffling papers, looking like he knew he was about to lose. Judge Hanson took the bench. "Let's proceed." Anderson did his best. He argued Morgan deserved spousal support, that she'd contributed to the marriage in non-financial ways, that the adultery had been a mistake, born of loneliness and neglect. Nicholas dismantled him piece by piece. Bank records showing I'd supported Morgan financially for 8 years. Facebook photos showing Morgan and Gabriel together during my deployment, smiling, happy, planning their betrayal. And then Diane Whitlock's testimony, recorded in a deposition, where Morgan's own mother confirmed Morgan had admitted the affair lasted a while. Judge Hanson reviewed everything, her expression unreadable. Then she spoke. "Mrs. Whitlock, you committed adultery. That is a fault ground for divorce in Virginia, and it significantly impacts my decision regarding asset division and support." She looked directly at Morgan. "You chose to betray your marriage vows. Mr. Whitlock has no obligation to financially support you beyond this marriage." Morgan's face crumpled. "Divorce granted," Judge Hanson continued. "Assets to be divided per the original agreement signed by both parties. No spousal support." Court adjourned. The gavel came down. I stood up, shook Nicholas's hand, and walked out of that courthouse feeling like I could finally breathe. Morgan caught me in the parking lot. "Drew, wait." I turned. She looked small, broken. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry for everything." "I know," I said. And I believed she was sorry. Sorry she'd been caught. Sorry she'd lost everything. Sorry Gabriel had turned out to be worthless. "Is there any chance?" "No," I said firmly. "There's no chance. Move on, Morgan, I have." I got in my truck and drove away. 2 weeks after the divorce hearing, I thought everything was finally done. Then Steve sent me a link with a message. "You need to see this." I clicked. It was a blog post, written by Morgan, posted on some support forum for women wronged by military spouses. I started reading, and my jaw clenched tighter with every line. She painted me as an abusive, controlling husband who'd abandoned her emotionally. She claimed I'd used my military training to intimidate and threaten Gabriel. She said I'd manipulated the legal system to destroy her life out of spite. Every single word was a lie, but it was public, detailed, and she'd tagged it with my full name, my unit, everything. Anyone who Googled me would find this garbage. "Drew," Steve said when I called him back, "this could impact you professionally. People who don't know you might believe it." He was right. I called Nicholas immediately. "Defamation lawsuit," he said after reading the post. "But it's expensive, time-consuming, and honestly, it might just give her post more attention. I'm not letting her trash my reputation." Then we fight. Again. But I did something smarter first. Instead of suing immediately, I reached out to people who actually knew me. Commander Parker wrote a formal statement affirming my character and professionalism. Steve, Fred Garcia, and Jared Adams, guys from Team 6, posted on social media, vouching for me without naming Morgan directly but making it damn clear they knew the truth. Claire went public on Facebook supporting me outright and calling out Morgan's manipulation of facts. And Daniel found something beautiful: screenshots of text messages between Morgan and Gabriel from during my deployment. Messages where they joked about me being clueless, where they planned their hookups in my own house. Proof that Morgan wasn't some lonely, abandoned wife. She was a calculating cheater who'd enjoyed deceiving me. Nicholas sent Morgan a cease and desist letter, attached the screenshots, promised we'd release everything publicly and sue for defamation unless the post came down. 24 hours later, it was gone. Gabriel served his 6 months. When he got out, Leslie had filed for divorce and primary custody of their kids. His probation violation and jail time had torpedoed any chance he had left. He ended up back at his parents' place, broke, divorced, unemployed. Morgan broke things off with him while he was still locked up, realized he'd lied about everything, just like I'd warned her. Neither of them came out ahead. By August, I was back to normal, team training, deployments, the rhythm that had always grounded me. I started dating casually, nothing serious at first, just coffee, dinner, getting back into the world. Then I met Angelica Taylor. She was a nurse at the VA hospital. Funny, smart, and completely drama-free. We met through mutual friends, and from the first conversation, I knew she was different. "So, Steve tells me you went through a rough divorce," she said over dinner one night. "That's one way to put it. You seem pretty okay now." "I am," I said honestly. "Took some work to get here, but yeah, I'm okay." She smiled. "Good, because I don't do drama." "Neither do I. Not anymore." A year after the divorce, I bought a new house, bigger, better, in a neighborhood I'd always liked. I furnished it exactly how I wanted. No compromises, no arguments about paint colors or throw pillows. Steve and Marianne helped me move in. We grilled steaks, drank beer, and I realized how good it felt to be surrounded by people who actually gave a damn. "To new beginnings," Steve toasted. To new beginnings. 2 years after the divorce, I married Angelica in a small ceremony. Claire and Thomas came. Even Diane showed up. "You deserved better than what my daughter gave you," Diane said quietly. "I'm glad you found it." "Thank you, that means a lot." Steve was my best man. During his toast, he said, "Drew's one of the toughest guys I know. Not because of what he does for a living, but because of how he handled the worst betrayal a man can face. He didn't crumble. He fought back, and he won. Here's to winning." The room erupted. I looked at Angelica, radiant in her dress, smiling at me like I was the only person in the world. This was what I deserved. This was justice. 5 years after that terrible night when I came home early and found Morgan with Gabriel, my life looked completely different. Angelica and I had a daughter, Eleanor. 2 years old, all curls and giggles and endless energy. Watching her grow up in a home full of love and honesty made everything I'd gone through worth it. I made commander. Team 6 recognized my leadership during a critical mission, and my career had never been better. I woke up every morning next to a woman who loved me, who'd never betray me, who was building a life with me instead of tearing one down. Morgan was still working at the boutique. still living with her mother, still single. Her reputation in the military community had spread. Decent men wanted nothing to do with her. Gabriel was working construction, living with roommates, never amounting to much of anything. I didn't just get revenge on them. I got justice. And I got the life I always deserved. They got exactly what they earned. Nothing. I believe stories such as this find us for a reason. If this one touches you, please subscribe. I share a new one every day. In the meantime, there are 2 stories on the screen that are even better.